We're broadcasting live on independent television. This is Route to 2027, the political program that will put together to start analyzing and looking at the 2027 general election come 2027 as we begin to see the parties, the defections, we begin to see the coalition. We're still seeing the resignation from Party A to Party B. We're looking at how the polity is going to be like come 2027 and ahead of the election. So many politicking and politricking, if you want to call it that way. So we'll put up the program to start analyzing, looking forward to how the 2027 presidential election is going to be like come the year 2027. I'm Lawrence Osifo, your anchor, and it's a great delight to have you join us on the program tonight. We'll be looking at ahead of the 2027 election, the policies, the parties, the shaping of the election, the flag bearers, the candidates, the electorate, the future of Nigeria's politics and the Nigeria's states. That is the reason why we're always here to try to make sense out of what the issues are going to be like, what the parties are doing, what the candidates ahead are doing, or the prospective candidates, even the electorate, what will be their say or their stake come 2027. Tonight, I'll be joined by a former special advisor to SSA, to the former governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, Shedrack Udugbai. Shedrack Udugbai is a public affairs analyst and a political analyst as well, who joins me live on the program tonight. Good evening, Shedrack, and good to have you on the program.
Yeah, good evening, my good people of Nigeria. It's a pleasure being here once again.
All right, thank you for joining us on the program tonight. Okay, let's begin the conversation. Let's start making sense out of the issues we have on ground. You know, I always start up with this question with all my guests that comes on this program. The question I always ask first is this. This is 2025, and 2027 is still, by the calculation, 2 years away, or 1 year and 5 months as the case may be, or 6 months. The election will definitely be in February 2027. The current administration are focusing on the next election instead of governance. In your own perspective, don't you think it's too early for this whole politicking or politricking ahead of 2027? Isn't the incumbent administration under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu supposed to be focused on governance rather than talking about 2027? Let's start up with that conversation tonight.
First of all, for me, it's a two-way thing.
Okay.
President Bola Tinubu ought to be focused on governance, which is correct. He even started not just now. We started roughly by a year after I went into office, and then we started seeing agitations. The sun started moving around the north. We started seeing some undergrad cards and some shared desperation. First of all, you know, there's always been a problem. There was a time I did a research on the Nigerian democracy, why African democracy failed. And one of the reasons they gave was that the leaders and masters, the political juggernauts in the African democracy, many of them do not have competence outside politics. They are not men with specialized skills. For example, if you were to put a medical doctor as the president, you observe that what you expect is that most of the medical institutions will come alive. Because the man has been there all his life. He knows what he needs to do to ensure that his area of field is comprehensively captured. You put a professor, so in order established democracy, that niche, if you put a sportsman, someone who's a sport enthusiast become a position of leadership in governance, those aspects of themselves reflect in governance. That is to say, wherever the man does, wherever he has lived his life, his field of study plays a major role in influencing his policies and focusing on and choosing those areas the ordinary will focus on. But in Nigerian politicians, they are full-time politicians. When they come into governance, there's nothing that changes. They continue to focus deeply in politicking and politricking. And then one of such consummate politicians is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has been a politician for 20 years. For 30 years, he said he prepared to be president. Not by acquiring the basic knowledge to governance, but by acquiring the skills for politicking. So first of all, the man was desperate to return again. I do not know exactly what gave him that fear, but he said that there were some people who were threatening him indirectly, and they had a phobia of returning back to Bodilon without completing his 8 years. So he started making political plans. Ordinarily, if somebody wants to get re-elected, having gained election for the first 4 years, all he needs to do is to deliver the dividends of democracy, to ensure that the people are happy with his programs, his policies, and his projects, so that they will, on the basis of what he has done, now say, no, this man must be voted in to continue. But Tinubu believes that what he needs to do to win is to ensure that he reduces the opposition, destroys the opposition platform, ensure that he invites everybody that is who and who in the state, governors, ministers, senators, he puts them all in his camp. For him, that was what he thought, or rather what he thinks will aid him into re-election, not necessarily the work he has done. On the other hand, we the Nigerian people have also seen that what we had anticipated, what we had expected from this man, is not what we are getting. We had expected that perhaps since the Sultanate will now be coming into power, there will be this issue of insecurity, former header clashes will be finally put to an end. At least this man is a political juggernaut, is an heavyweight, is a man of age and tactics, a man that cannot be easily intimidated. So all of those northern oligarchs, the northern men who had propounded this cowtocracy, government of the cow, by the cow, for the cow, who have rated cow to be superior to a human being, many of those things would have been relegated. And at least power should come to the south so that the south can breathe some sign of relief. But when the man came into office, all he had been doing since the emerged office has been to multiply our problem. The man came, removed fuel subsidy, and from that he plunged us into hardship. There is double-digit inflation, pervasive hunger, unemployment. The naira has lost value drastically. For the first time in my life, it was not possible. I was taught in school that a car is a liability. If you buy a car, you can't make money from it. It reduces value. But that was a lie, because when people bought car, 1.2 million, 1.5 million perhaps, maybe buy car 1.5 million during when Buhari was in power, and you have driven it for 3 years, and Tinubu comes into power. I bet you will sell that car for 3 million. That is to say, after driving a car for 3 years, you will still make a profit of 100% on the car that was once said to be a liability. That what proves to you how destroyed, how damaged the Nigerian economy became. So for us, the people now started, there was this uneasiness, there was restiveness among the Nigerian people. No. This man is failing. In as much as the Sultanate, we cannot condone a certain failure. Those in the north will say, this man, we are seeing some high level of ethnicism. The man has been able to push many of the Sultanates, his southwestern brothers into office, surrounded himself with cabals, and is unaccessible. We saw that a total breakdown of the institutions of government. A man who said he was a Democrat, who said perhaps that fought for Nadeco, is a Democrat at the core. We saw the way and manner the legislature was reduced to nothing, how the judiciary was being brutalized, how INEC was being emasculated in the obstacle election. So from us, the people, we were tired, obviously tired. Waiting for 2027 seemed like a tall order. We went to get the man. Like me personally, it was election, I still let it come quicker. So Nigeria had to quickly conscientize, begin to mobilize. Then we saw the man made attempt to destroy the other political partners. Or that also necessitated people to rise into the action and say, if this man is not willing to offer good governance as a yardstick for return to office, then we must mobilize, conscientize, and galvanize our citizens to ensure that we are very ready for his antics in order to ensure that we reward failure with rejection. That is exactly what has necessitated it. The man had made moves directly and indirectly by not being able to offer good governance, by attacking political institutions and political parties, by destroying the foundations of democracy, have been making life unbearable for the average Nigerian. Poverty, pain, and hardship. And that's what has necessitated us to start beginning to think, how do we live here? We now discover that the only solution is to get Bola Ahmed Tinubu out of office. Because when a man is elected into a political office, for him to solve a specific problem, the minute the man cannot solve that problem, the man becomes the problem. So right now, the only problem Nigeria has is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And that's why all hands are on deck to ensure that we mobilize, we galvanize, and we conscientize ourselves in kicking the man out of Aso Rock. So that at least we could try something else. Because when you have your car is bad, and you go to the mechanic and say, we need to change, my car is bad, so this is part. So the alternator is bad, for example, the alternator is bad, and what do you want? So I'm going to buy brand new, let's get the second one. You don't ask which one. Change it is the first thing, because you must make progress, you must witness change. So we're not so careful, but perhaps we are watching who's going to replace him, but most importantly, he has to be replaced above every other one.
Okay, Shedrack. You've spoken a whole lot just from the single question I asked. But what you've said, I've actually brought out some other questions that I will be throwing to you still on the program tonight. Now, before we delve into looking at the issues that will shape in the 2027 election, the electorate, the political parties and all that, do you think that your thought is the thought of so many Nigerians right now, because a lot of persons are saying, oh, he has done so well, he has done so much since May 29th, 2023 that he came on board. He has stabilized the economy. He has, so, you know, a lot of persons in another quarters, you might want to call them political psychophants if you like, but they are saying the guy has done so well. So why do you think they should kick out someone who have done so well for the past 2 years out of office?
I don't want to call them political psychopaths.
Okay.
I believe that they are members of the All Progressive Congress. Many of them are enjoying the same government with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And for many of them, their lives have improved. Many of them were practically nothing before Bola Ahmed Tinubu became president. And now they have access to power and empowerment. They have improved their lives. So honestly, for many of them, they are doing well, they are feeding fatter, and they are living the life of their dreams. But that is not to say, because democracy is a government for the majority. Government by the majority and for the majority. That is to say, if majority of the people are not happy, that means the government is failing. Because there will always be that minute few who are enjoying. Even if you bring Lucifer from hell, when I say Lucifer, I don't mean somebody that looks like Lucifer, I mean Lucifer with horns. And he comes to Nigeria and becomes the president. There are people who will appoint as ministers. There are people who will give portfolio to. Those people must be excited and be happy. We must celebrate him. Irrespective of how bad the policies are, people must celebrate Tinubu. We recognize that fact. That's why I'm not taking it personal with them. But I know that those people are not the majority, because the majority of Nigerians are suffering. And it's that majority that will decide, not the minority. When you speak about the idea of saying they are defending the mass policies, is either here or there. But you see, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his policies are majorly theoretical. They say he has one of the best policies of paper, but on ground, what we are seeing is pains without gains. They tell you, okay, they say Tinubu has done this, and people ask, so why are we not seeing it? They say there's gestation period. That is to say, when Tinubu does something like a policy, it's like getting a woman pregnant. We have to wait for 9 months. We have waited for 2 years now. All these policies are failed to give birth. There's nothing we have seen. You can't point to one area that Tinubu has done well. Is it right? Tinubu opened up, Tinubu spoke in public domain and said, if I don't give you light in 4 years, don't vote for me, kick me out. What progress has he made, my dear brother? If you talk of insecurity, I can tell you that people who have died in Tinubu government, I'm not quoting my statistics, so go to the Bureau of Public Statistics. The people that have died in Tinubu government in just these 2 years is more than the ones that have died in Buhari 8 years. Go and check. The total amount of money that was borrowed under this regime without payment of fuel subsidy is more than the one Buhari borrowed in 8 years. So why am I wondering, upon which basis has this man succeeded? What are you talking about? Naira, when he took over, was about 300 and something Naira, struggling to reach 400. Now it's 1,000. You say Naira is not stable. I say, I don't understand you. Something is stable, is available, but not affordable. Is that the kind of life we want? Like I said the other time, like I said earlier, I said inflation today, food inflation is about 33%. What it means is that if you used to buy a cup of gari in Buhari's time for 2,000 Naira, now it is 3,000 Naira. And if you say you want to stick on the same resources, because many of Nigerians are on fixed wages, you want to focus on that fixed wages that you'll be using, and perhaps you say, okay, since I go to the market with 5,000, I must continue to use only 5,000. If you go to market to 5,000 to buy tomatoes, when you go there now, they will divide the tomatoes you used to buy into 3 and give you 2 parts, and they keep 1 part. That is the reality of the Nigerian economy. For you that used to eat 3 times a day, you can't eat 3 times a day with the same amount of money you used to in Buhari's regime. Now you are eating 2 times a day because inflation is now 33%. As a result of that, 1/3 of the food you also consume on a daily basis has been taken by Tinubu. Tinubu has eaten your afternoon food, so you don't have afternoon food. If you're in your house, your father, mother, and child are used to eat in Buhari's period with fixed wages. Now you will discover there's only mother and father and mother that have food. The child does not have food. They now have to cut from the food they were eating to ensure that the child survives. So that is the reality. So whatever those people are saying is on paper. They are political rhetoric that will remain on social media and the print media. When February or March 2027 will come, those of us who are not living in social media, those of us who are not living inside newspaper, those of us who do not eat propaganda before we go to sleep, we will go to the pool unit and we will do the needful. We will ensure that we kick failure out. And because the only way to engender development and growth is to punish failure. We will punish failure in 2027 by the special grace of of God.
All right, Shadrach, you've laid the foundation stone to our conversation tonight pretty well. But we'll go on a short break now before we start looking at the issues that will shape in the 2027 general election. We'll look at the electorate, we'll look at the election in itself, we'll look at the flag bearers, we'll look at the future of Nigeria, we'll look at the coalition, we'll look at the ruling APC, and we'll look at much more. But let's take a short break on the program tonight. When we return, we'll delve into that conversation. Stay with us on the show. All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Still on the program Road to 2027, reaching you live on independent television. All right, let's now delve into the conversation proper. The issues that will shape in the election come 2027. The issues that will place the election on track come 2027. Now, Shadrach, let's now look at the election in itself. We still have 2026 in between the entire year. That's 12 months of 2026 before February or March, depending on how the INEC timetable will definitely go. In your perspective, what do you think will really be the issues that will shape in the election? Is it the performance of the incumbent administration, or they are going to sell something else to the people of Nigeria that they will buy? When I mean sell something else, another promises, campaign promises that the people will believe, different from what is sold to Nigerians in 2023.
For one thing, ordinarily, what ought to shape an election ought to be the manifestos of the candidates, what they say they want to do. Secondly, their competence and character, how we believe, how the average Nigerian person that this man can deliver on what he's saying he will do. Those are the things that ordinarily ought to shape an election. But in Nigeria, I bet you those are not the top issues of consideration. Nigerians are not bringing that to the front. What they are bringing to the front is the issue of zoning. That's the major issue, the first issue that is on ground. They are saying if the SAT had done 4 years, will it not only be sensible for another starter to come and do 4 years? Or perhaps, can we trust another starter to do 4 years? Or perhaps, why don't we allow this man, though he has failed, let's let the failure complete another 4 years? There are no tenants who have said, no, let us wait for it to complete 4 years. Let people complete first so that we can have our own short at 8 years. Why there are some starters who say, no, it can never be not. We know that Tinubu has failed. Tinubu has damaged the system, has performed poorly. But please, SAT must complete their 8 tenure. Irrespective whether it's a failed Satana, we don't care. As the North have done their own, I don't care whether the man performs. So there are different opinions around that angle of zoning. And the two major candidates, today we are not looking for more candidates. There are practically no new candidates that we merge before the 2027 general election. After the ones we have, the major contestants, Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, who are in the opposition, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is in the major party. The four of them who determined the fact, who perhaps gather the pool of votes, over 1 million votes in that election, will still decide what will happen in this next one. So there's not much details on who they are, what their plans are. Nigerians have had a lot of that in 2023. Many of them are not new. So they were new, would have started considering their manifesto, their plans, and their promises. So because they're not new, there are other sentiments that are critical. One thing must also know that the North are very.
All right, are you there, Shadrach? Can you hear me? Okay, I think we're having some glitches right there. Let's go on a short break to continue with the conversation shortly. Stay with us. All right, thank you so much for staying with us on the program Road to 2027, reaching you live on independent television. We're still talking to my guest, Shadrach Dubai, the former political advisor to the former and immediate past governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, still talking to us on the program. So you were on track before we had that little network glitches, but you can continue with your thought on that. Can you hear me, Shadrach?
Okay. Like I was saying,
yeah,
I said the major issues we'll be having will be the issues of zoning. So that has been the front, the most prime issue, the issue of zoning. And majorly, there are also some Northerners who are not pleased. Majority of the Northerners are not pleased with the Tinubu administration because they see it to be a bit very nepotic. Like perhaps a bit, he has carried out the issue of nepotism. It has empowered more of the Southerners than the Northerners. We hear statements that majority of Tinubu's projects are in the south. He has done very little for the north. There have been arguments before and back in that direction. We see some renowned northerners come out to say, it's not like Tinubu assisted Buhari becoming president. He just contributed a mere 3 million votes. 15 million, 12 million votes was already in the bag. We already had control of 12 million votes before he supported us. So there have been some disenchantment. What made it even worse was the death of President Muhammadu Buhari. When the man died, because he was the leader and the controller of the CPC faction that amalgamated into the APC. So when the man died, his followers under the CPC, many of whom were not captured comprehensively in this new administration, have now formed some disenchanted, dismantled voices. And many of them now are seeing that it's practically impossible for them to now identify with Tinubu as their leader. So they are looking for a new leader. And they are prominent figures. The most prominent figure in the northern Nigeria today is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And so that man, to like I said, we enjoy majority of the followers of President Muhammadu Buhari. This is a northerner and one of the most. Before now, El-Rufai, who is a staunch loyalist of President Buhari, has already aligned his interest with Atiku Abubakar. So I see them enjoying more from the demise of President Muhammadu Buhari while putting the north in disarray. The northerners have spoken in time past and they are not placed. So the northern factor will be one of the most strongest factors because the south will always be divided. Tinubu will always conquer a portion of the southwest. The southeast, if Obi appears to burn any ballot, they will likely vote that way. While the south, because of the inclusion of the APC in recent time, will likely vote for Tinubu, but it's not going to get a massive victory. But the core north will likely still go. If a northern candidate is being fielded, Atiku Abubakar, most likely, the northerners will rally around him. So there's this dichotomy of who will vote, who will not vote, and how the votes go. And if the opposition vote is united, it's another principle too. If Peter Obi and Atiku are able to form a union, either Obi is running, Atiku say, I'm not running, let me support him, or Atiku is running and Obi say, let me do vice as I did in 2019, that is also a major factor, the vote of the opposition. If the opposition vote is divided across any two political platforms, then Tinubu returns. So what we are calculating now is the possibility of victory. So those challenges are there. And it's going to be permutations up until June 2026, where primaries will likely take place. I will now know exactly where when the election will not take shape. And after it has taken shape, we'll now begin to wait for the last minute defection, where some governors will now have to decamp out of the APC or into the APC. That will likely now form the last round of political maneuvers, endorsement and counter-endorsement, decamping and counter-decamping. So we are waiting. It's going to be it's a long drama that is still unfolding. But currently now, we are still at the issue of zoning. We are still the issue of who is to support who, what to do with the opposition votes. And also there will be issue with political platforms because Tinubu has really attacked and hijacked majority of the platform. Today, we see leaders and masters of the Democratic Party openly endorsing Tinubu for a return. In Osun State, it was Adeleke endorsed Tinubu for a run. In Ogun State, the PDP came together, they endorsed Tinubu for a run. In Lagos State, we saw Jadon collapse the full structure of Lagos State PDP for Tinubu. In Rivers State, we know practically is the control. Wike is there to do the damages. We saw Fayose in the state with PDP cap in an APC rally endorsing Tinubu. So that it is wide across that there's no partisan integrity within the People's Democratic Party. It's like a jester. And now they've met and they sold their ticket to the South, all in the attempt to bring Peter Obi to PDP, so that Peter Obi will be on one PDP, while ADC will feed Atiku, and the opposition vote will be divided. So the availability of political platform to Peter Obi is a major factor. The man has also come out to say he's going to run only one term. That is another issue on its own. Can Atiku run one term? That is another issue on its own. But we are waiting as the whole thing shake. So the political platforms will be a strong determinant. If the two strongest opposition voices are able to secure platforms to run on, is one of the strongest factors. And the issue of zoning, how it will align. Because data primarily will determine zoning. If Atiku superintendent, then we know that it's Atiku against Tinubu. If Obi president, then we know it's a South ticket. So it's the candidates we are watching, the availability of political platforms, and how they will survive the primaries. That's the major factor. And that's why all political stalwarts are hanging on this major move. June will be the decisive factor.
Okay. Now, let's look at the PDP in itself, the political party. The issues that has bedeviled the PDP over, should I now say the years or months now, where we see a member of that political party working for the opposition, which is the ruling party, the person of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. Don't you see that also as a threat to the PDP in the forthcoming presidential election? You and I know that recently, Atiku Abubakar resigned from the PDP, which you already know is always his style of resigning, going there and coming back. But let's look at the PDP structure on his own, outside Atiku Abubakar, who just resigned recently. Don't you think, Wike?
And when you talk about structure, let me address the issue of Atiku's decamping and talk about the structure of the Democratic Party.
Okay.
When you say Atiku decamp, many people have agreed that issue of, hey, he's a serial defector.
Yeah.
Every season, he moves from one political platform to another. And then they say because of that, people have likened that characteristics to issue of inconsistency. That the man appears not to be consistent with his political followership and all of that. But I dare say, by my own personal experience and research, that decamping, moving from one political platform to another, is a normalcy in this Fourth Republic. There are political cultures, and decamping or moving from one party to another is a normal political culture in Nigeria today, especially in this Fourth Republic. There's no politician today who has attained any meaningful height that's not decamped. In the First Republic, even this Tinubu they said is the most consistent. In the Third Republic, he was in SDP. In this Fourth Republic, he was in AD. From AD, he moved to AC. From AC to ACN. ACN to APC. Whether the party moved to him or he moved to the party is immaterial. Because if you say he didn't move, the party was just expanding, they were merging. That's how Buhari too was formerly in the ANPP to CPC, CPC to APC. So that's how the thing has been going. Myself, I never dreamt for once that I will be leaving the Post-Democratic Party in recent time. But for crying out loud, I know the Post-Democratic Party now is now a subsidiary of the APC. So I will likely have to leave if I want to protect, if I perhaps want to run for office in the coming years. So the issue of consistency is now being tied to your values and virtues. What you say you want to do, are your principles intact? Are your values intact? Are your virtues intact? If those things are intact and you move, then you are not said to be consistent. Because even Peter Obi was in Abga. There's video of him moving away saying he will never ever leave Abga. He left Abga, he went to PDP. From PDP, he went to Labour Party. Labour Party has chased him out now in ADC. Why is everybody not saying that Peter Obi is inconsistent? That's the question. Because they just want to liken it to Atiku and not like it to call it. Believe that Obi has his values and virtues consistent. The man has a name, he has integrity, he's free on resources. All of those things are remain. So they won't see, they won't judge him on the path at the basis of him moving from platform to platform. So please let us also give Atiku the benefit of the doubt. Because everybody is open to move as long as you are in search of a platform to ensure that you can bring home the democracy for your people. Talking about the People's Democratic Party, you see, the PDP has been reduced to a subsidiary. It's now a subsidiary, like NPC, subsidiary of the APC. Very soon, they will start carrying broom and forget their symbol was umbrella. Because people who controlled resources was able to buy the end of publicity. We came to Lagos State, it was employed. This thing was practically crafted by Tinubu. After the 2020 election, he saw that the people giving problem was PDP and Labour Party and New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. And he said those political platforms will practically die natural death. They won't survive. And they began to make moves and began to make inroads. Would you believe that the New Nigeria People's Party, the leaders and elders of the party gathered together and suspended the only governor they have? If not for external influence, how will leaders of the party suspend the only governor they have? Today, the Labour Party, the only governor they have, Alex Oti, when he wanted to conduct local government election, he could not use Labour Party because the opponent fraction has hijacked the party and was not available. He had to go and use Zenith Labour Party. That to show you how fractured the party is. The People's Democratic Party could not stand, could not hold one neck meeting for almost 2 years. But guess what? When Atiku Abubakar left the party, they quickly organized themselves together. Sam Wanya, aka Sam Daddy, who said he was the national secretary, he had collected court judgments, and whoever remained national secretary will die in that position, automatically resume. Just less than 2 months, less than a month after Atiku left the party. Because they were not destroying the big party, they wanted to destroy the candidate. Because they knew that the party, it would not amount to anything if the candidate is not on it. So today now they are now looking for a candidate. That's why they are zoned to start and they are hoping that Peter Obi will come. But Peter Obi knows that anybody that goes into the People's Democratic Party, the elders and leaders, as currently being constituted, will use him to endorse Tinubu in 2027. The obedient will be used to endorse Tinubu in 2027. So everybody is weary. Nobody, PDP does not have electoral integrity anymore. Any candidate going there is just going to be a pedestrian candidate. a stooge, a crony, a surrogate of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And on the day of election, maybe like this election, will eventually come out at the camp because Tinubu is willing and ready to deploy state resources, use tactics of intimidation to buy every conceivable human being that has a prize in the political terrain. So for me, the PDP, there's nothing to hope for in it. There's nothing to wish for. And all of those issues of structure, the serious-minded members of both Democratic Party have pulled out. In the nooks and crannies of the state, many of the members have come to see it for what it was, for what it truly is. And they can't begin to continue to keep faith. Many of them are just saying, let us hold the position because we have position in PDP. I don't have to decamp openly. I'm not looking for position. I'll be in PDP and work for APC or any other political coalition that suits my interests. But many of them have said, certainly not APC. Many of them in PDP are also left to join the APC. There are many of us here in Edo State here who have said, because the party is fractured, I also go down and lost its record. They have said, I can't continue with the opposition. Let me go and join them in government. Because in government, food is ready. Many persons have also moved into the APC. So that fluctuation is sure to happen. But the People's Democratic Party, I bet you, is just going to play the role of a spoiler. There's no future, there's no destination of PDP in 2027 as currently being constituted. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon.
Okay. I was heading towards a question before you attacked me on that structural part. I was talking about the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, a chieftain of the PDP, who is working for APC. Don't you foresee him also going to pull strings for the APC? He claimed to be a PDP member, but he's a minister under the APC administration. Is that not a threat?
No, the man is in APC.
Okay.
And playing the spoiler role in PDP. He's not in PDP. PDC.
All right.
And trying to play the spoiler role in the PDP. But that's his job. To ensure that he keeps the party grounded. But thank God, Atiku Abubakar has left the platform and he has moved into the ADC, a super coalition of men of integrity. So Wike can now run because Wike was so desperate because the ticket was not zoned to the south. That's why he worked against the party and voted for Tinubu. Now they zoned it to the south. Let Wike go and contest. The party is not available for him. So that thing is just the issue of betrayal, political betrayal, backstabbing. It's not issue of APC work or PDP. There's nothing of such nature. There's no coloration. There's no definition of such in any political book. You cannot be in Johut and be receiving money from Julius Berger. It's not possible.
Okay, let's move to the next one. Talking about the issues that will shape in the election come 2027. You have the electorate, you have the electoral umpires, you have the political party, and you also have the candidate. You've touched more, you've touched on some of them, but let's talk about the electorate, the people. Do you think the party that will be challenging or that will be confronting the ruling APC will have what it takes to campaign, to tell the Nigerian people that this is what we're going to do different from what this incumbent administration is doing? And we also know the role of the power of incumbency, like we've seen over the years in Nigerian politics, and the power of incumbency cannot be taken away. They say he that plays the piper, that takes the tune. He who appoints the INEC chairman will always also somehow be the one to control the independent, in quote, National Electoral Commission. Do you foresee an election where the people will say, we reject the incumbent administration and we need a fresh government? Do you see that happening?
When the issue of INEC is a crucial factor in the 2027 election. Okay. Because they will be the umpire to call the results, to manage the process. But also they say, in time past, there used to be the issue of polling unit results being falsified. But now we see that they now discover that they can't rig elections and polling units anymore. And when they are those state elections, the people come out and they vote. The integrity of the ballot is maintained and sustained at the polling unit. It is during the process of coalition that we begin to see abstract manipulation and falsification of figures. So if the people haven't voted and are able to follow through to the local government coalition centers and the state coalition centers, then I believe that Nigeria has a chance in 2027. Because there are levels, because there must be factors that must be available for rigging to take place. You can't just say, because you want to rig, you just go and rig. No, there must be preparation. You can't rig in area where you are not popular. There's some level to which you can also deploy state if the incumbency. That is to say, police, DSS on that day. In a state election, it was good because when it's a standalone election, they can afford to bring 20,000 policemen to overrun the process. When the presidential election, the Nigerian military the Nigerian police will be spread wide and thin. And even the police you see on that day will not carry a gun. So it is the people who have the right, because that's what happened. In the last election, we see the issue of power, Tinubu lost Lagos. If it was issue of rigging, if not for Wike, Tinubu could possibly not have won River State. So there must be a political actor to do the damages on your behalf. And those are some of the things we'll be checkmating in this forthcoming election.
Okay.
Then the issue of the issue of the electoral umpire. Then you asked about the issue of the electorates,
yes,
and the campaign promises.
Yes.
See, the question for me is, you don't even need to tell us how to do much. See, if Tinubu had done nothing, if Tinubu had got into power and had done nothing, doing nothing would have been better than everything he did. That's my opinion. Because if he had come and he had left fuel subsidy, Naira and dollar did not jump up this price. He had not borrowed recklessly. He had not used taxation to destroy the economy. He has not made life difficult for Nigerians. If Nigeria was on autopilot, I dare say life would have been better. It would have been better Tinubu didn't do anything. So if you bring somebody that cannot do anything, that person will outperform Tinubu. That's how bad we are. That's how bad the situation is. All of the man's policies, as lofty and beautiful as they are on paper, is laced with corruption, hardship, and difficulty when translated into reality. So for us, we don't need the person that will tell us more story. Please pay our loan. Just pick one area and do, because we are tired of moving from bad to worse. If you can take us back to when it was bad, let us as when it was. We never want someone that take us to El Dorado. Just take us away from this dungeon. Ensure that we are able to manage the economy, create job, and at least boost our foreign earnings so that the forest will be able to come down. Once you're able to make such plans, we are good. Because Nigerians, they are not even in need for more and more. They don't want to say, oh, tell us half no, we are not interested. The basic minimum is what we want. But first, help us remove this man, because it's the only problem we currently now have. So for me, I don't see manifesto shaping the process. Many people are neither here nor there. Politicians have, over the years, proven that they cannot keep to their words. And that's what, so Nigerians will not rely on that. They will rely on other cogent factors, certainly not manifesto and promises.
Okay. Shadrach, let's take another break now. When we return, we'll begin to finalize and wrap up the program for tonight. But let's go on a very short break. Stay with us. All right, thank you so much for staying with us on the program Road to 2027, reaching you live on independent television. I've been talking to my guest, Shadrach Udugbai, the former SSA, to the former immediate past governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki. We've been looking at the issues that will shape in the 2027 presidential election, the electorate, the electoral umpire, the candidates, the flag bearers, and the future of Nigeria. He has spoken so well, spoken so much, given us so much information we need handy ahead of the election. But as we begin to wrap up, Shadrach, as we begin to call it a wrap on the show tonight, now, do you foresee an election that will definitely be free, fair, credible, transparent, and the will and the wishes of the people in 2027, beyond manipulation?
There's no election that we can say will be free and fair.
Okay.
It's just that it's like saying, perhaps you see rice and beans mixed together. If it's only small beans that inside the rice, you say majorly it's just rice. There's a way the beans will not be made, you know, it's rice and beans. They said there were a portion of beans, and I said this one is just beans, now there's barely rice here. So there must be manipulations, infractions, but it's not going to be a majority. It won't be enough to tilt or alter the will of the people. That's one thing I'm clear. Of course, there will be cancellation of units. So units may succeed in manipulating results. So local governments will be manipulated. But the vast majority that will turn the hand of the election will actually be free, fair, and credible. And that is not free, fair, and credible by all intent and purpose. It's outright defense and strong on the will and resolution of the Nigerian people that we should go to obtain that aspect, that few local governments or full states that will be said to be free, fair, and credible. So for me, it's wishful thinking to think, if the election is going to be free, fair, and credible, like I said before, if the election will be totally free, totally fair, totally credible, and the Nigerian people know, because one thing for it to be free and fair, and for us to believe that it's free and fair, this is double game. And if Nigeria knows and it's actually free and fair, I said before 12:30, I've said it before, it will be we beat Tinubu blue black. Tinubu will be out of government by 12:30. We won't wait. The after 12:30, we'll tell all the rest people go and vote for Tinubu. Obi has already won. It will be that bad. But because we know there's no way free and fair, we now have to put in a lot of energy to cover the areas that will be rigged and manipulated. And I strongly believe that if the opposition is able to stand as one, to speak with one united voice, to make it a two-horse race, we against them, those in power and those not in power, is going to help shape the process. Because those in power will just be likely almost balance or counterbalance those that are not in power, which will give a 50% balance. And that balance is what is needed for the electoral integrity of the ballot to be maintained. That's the sanctity of the ballot. So to take the will of the people to fight, to defend their vote, to ensure that it's not actually manipulated. So for me, there's no free and fair election anywhere. If anybody's hoping for that, it's wishful thinking. And that's how many people are saying that Peter Obi may not have the clouds. If it's not free and fair, Peter Obi may not be able to rise above water. We need somebody who can also mobilize the political stakeholders. Peter Obi has votes, street votes, but does not have leaders and masters. He does not have political juggernauts. He does not have stakeholders rallying around him. Atiku has that. He has courage and he has network. All of those things will count in defending the ballot. And that's what I say now. If Atiku should go and mobilize as a frontliner, the chances of us securing victory for the opposition or kicking it out is higher. So the argument is here and there, and we are working towards it. By the grace of God, irrespective of what the ruling party desires, the will of the Nigerian people will also triumph. That's our expectation.
Okay,
we are working to ensure that we checkmate every whole of ringing.
All right, before we call it a wrap for tonight, there is a by-election scheduled in Edo come next week. What is your message to the people of Edo Central and Ovia Federal Constituency?
For Ovia, I strongly believe that they should look at the competence and character of the persons who have presented themselves.
Okay.
Almost Benedict Benedict has been there before.
Yeah.
And she's coming back again under the All Progressive Congress. And you have to judge her first by her personal competence and character based on what she had done before and also the platform she's now running. Because it's one thing for Mosele to be in PDP and run and bring home the democracy. It's better for her to go to APC and not be able to thrive because the workings of the party may vary. And the People's Democratic Party also feeded the Akpetanyi, one Reverend Johnson Akpetanyi to a large extent, and the man is also doing well. He's a fresh hand in the political terrain. He appears to understand the international best practices and is also working on. And the People's Democratic Party, people they will make their decision, and I'm not in Ovia, so I'm not there so deeply into it.
Okay.
The one I've bothered to look at is the candidate of the APC in Edo Central.
Yeah.
For me, that candidate needs to be checkmate. Joseph Ikpea, the man, I've listened to his video, I've listened to his public utterances. They are not palatable for public consumption. I do not know how APC managed to bring such a man to the ballot. But some persons have also said that that's how they said Mondokpebolo did not go to school. Mondokpebolo cannot speak English. But today Mondokpebolo is governor and he's doing well for the Issa people. At least he's giving them empowerment and he's tying roads. He's bringing democracy. So if they now say they want to go in that line, by bringing persons of similar competence, but I strongly believe that Joe Koje, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, is a better option. Because for someone to go to the lawmaking, for to go to the Senate, as elevated the Senate, and then able to put sentences together to communicate sense is an aberration.
All right.
So the people of Edo Central should rise to the and make a decisive decision on who will present them at the senior legislature chambers.
Thank you very much. Shedrack Udugbai, the former SSA to the immediate past governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki. I want to thank you for your time for joining us tonight on the program Road to 2027. We appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. That's the start of our package for tonight on the show. I am Lawrence Osifo. I'll see you again on Thursday. So have a beautiful night rest. Bye for now.